Hey there, this is Will Jernigan with the Program Management Team for the Colorado Water Loss Initiative. This is a brief presentation to describe our game plan for Stage 1, which is going to be the first stage in the initiative. This is intended for Kevin Reedy, the CWCB team, and then the advisory group. Our goal is to describe to you how we're intending to lay out Stage 1 and the workshops, the locations, and the strategy, and get a thumbs up or any feedback from the advisory group and from Kevin. We are aiming, it's now mid-October, and we have around 70 utilities out of the total target of 165 signed up, so we're at a pretty good spot. We have enough information to evaluate where the workshop locations should be. We know that we'll continue to get sign-ups, we'll continue to get registrations in the coming months. The first workshops are not supposed to take place until April, but we want to go ahead and get the locations and the details figured out so that we can post them and utilities can begin selecting their spring workshop. Our target post time is November, and it's now mid-October. So this brief presentation is intended to show you what we're thinking and see if there's any feedback and ultimately get the thumbs up. So based on the 70 folks we've got signed up, we have a pretty good idea of how many workshops we need and where. And we're also extrapolating that out to the assumption that we'll have most of the full list signed up by the time we begin the workshops in April of next year. We know we probably won't be all the way up at the top at the target, but we know we will be getting close to that, and then of course we'll continue recruitment efforts from there on as well. So based on that, we have an outlay of 4 to 5 locations around the state that we are looking at, and in Denver specifically, because the density of utilities in the Denver area is so high, we'll end up having multiple workshops in Denver, kind of back to back, or one day, and then the next day it'll be another of the same workshop. So we'll have folks who'll have an opportunity to pick multiple days in Denver is what that'll shake out to. Initially took a look at it with 4 sites in mind, thinking of dividing up the area of utilities into 4 quadrants. We're kind of considering drive distance for the farthest utility as one of the metrics that we're using to guide. Ended up landing on actually a 5-district approach or a 5-area approach. And so based on this, heavy density in Denver, and we'll be identifying probably a location for training events or location for workshop in the Denver area, but then have multiple days where it's offered. And so lots of opportunities for this high cluster of utilities to pick a day that works, and then for those classes would fill up at some point, and they would have to pick another day. In the Glenwood Springs area, or the upper left quadrant, that's intended to be most likely one location. Montrose, one location. I think Monte Vista is a location in the lower left quadrant, and then Pueblo in the bottom right quadrant. So that is spatially how things are kind of laid out. Here's what that looks like in terms of the actual circuits, a circuit being a cluster of workshops within a given week. So right now we are looking at 4 different circuits, and Denver would be certainly part of that circuit. A couple days in Denver, and then a day in Glenwood Springs. Back for a second circuit to hit a location in Pueblo and then Monte Vista. These are day-long workshops, so this would be one day, and then Monte Vista would be a second day. There's a little bit more of a drive distance between those two. That's why there's only 2 workshops in that particular week. Circuit 3 would be back-to-back workshops in Denver and then one in Montrose. And then Circuit 4, I'll talk about that in just a second. Let's go to the schedule. So that same information, just looking at it on a time frame. We are looking at the first or second week in April to get the circuit started. And there you can see the back-to-back workshops in Denver, and then on the following day in Glenwood Springs. So a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of cluster is the way to think about that. Skip a week, come back on the the 22nd of April that week, and catch the 2. That says Pagosa Springs. Actually, I think we're looking at Monte Vista as a little bit more central location there. Circuit 3 coming back to Denver for back-to-back workshops, and then one in Montrose. And then we've got Circuit 4, which is later in the month of May, and then it is one more workshop in Denver. And then we have a potential for another one in Pueblo, and we've got overflow if needed. The way that will work is depending on the turnout for the Pueblo workshop in Circuit 2, we'll have ready to offer another one if that one fills up, essentially, and it's deemed that another one's needed there. That really is also true for the ones in Denver. If we really do get an overflow, then we have the option to add a workshop in Denver if needed. Just a quick comment about those workshops in Denver. That outlay gives us a total of four basic workshops and a fifth workshop in Denver. Those basic workshops would be for the new learner track. All of these workshops would be for the new learner track except for the one here in the early adopter track, which would be offered in Circuit 4. The way that shakes out is out of the 70 utilities that have signed up, only approximately 7 have identified as early adopters, and we're expecting that ratio down in the 10% range or less to hold true even when the signups continue and we get to a larger number of total participants. And all of those are actually clustered in the Denver area. So really at this point for Stage 1, all that it makes sense to offer is one early adopter track class. And if that assumption turns out to be not true and more early adopters end up signing up between now and April, we can always add one. But right now, that's the base plan. So I'm going to go ahead, since we're on a live presentation here, just change that to Monte Vista is what we're looking at. So right now, we end up with a total of around 9 or 10 workshops, which covers the not only the geographically where the folks are, but also spatially that we're being mindful of the number of students or number of individuals in the class per class, and so we're able to keep it at I think max around 40, possibly 45. Generally, is going to be our rule of thumb. When you get to some of the areas in the less dense parts of the state, then your class sizes are certainly going to tend to be a little bit smaller. But in Denver, that you can see that's where we are looking at a total of 5 workshops held in the Denver area that will help to alleviate the per class overcrowding. So that's the basic outlay. That's the basic idea for workshops in Stage 1. What we're looking at right now is just general feedback. If Kevin or you or the advisors see anything with respect to the geography, generally, I think the Monte Vista is generally here. So we're looking at targeting there. Folks all the way in the left corner probably would end up driving to Montrose. But everybody's generally got a roughly up to 2-hour drive, generally speaking, and maybe with just the occasional exception. But that is within a 2-hour drive. So looking to keep that reasonable. And those dates, we have spot checked against a couple things in that general time frame, other conferences, and hopefully have dodged conflicts. But if you are aware of any major conflicts that would be problematic for holding a workshop in these weeks, certainly let us know about that. So with that, again, this is Will Jernigan. So if you can route any feedback back to me, Kevin, I'll follow up with you shortly, and we can just make sure everything is looking okay, and we'll proceed with getting the workshops posted for folks to pick their location. The last thing we'll ask is if you are aware, if anybody watching this is aware of a good venue, a good training room in any of these locations, then we would love to know that and get a tip on a good space. So let me know. Otherwise, we might be reaching out to you just to confirm if you're aware in these locations. Denver, Pueblo, Monte Vista, Montrose, and Glenwood Springs are our five locations that we're looking at right now. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your feedback. We will be in touch.